Hey boys and girls, this is Mrs. Scales here to teach you about immunity. So let's go ahead and get started. So immunity is our natural ability to fight off an infectious disease. So for example, the chickenpox. All of you guys have been vaccinated for the chickenpox, so you won't get it. So that is your immunity against it. So the word immunity just means that you have the ability to fight it off. For me, I also got the chickenpox vaccine, so I never actually had it when I was a kid. I just got vaccinated for it. That was very different from everybody in my classes. I remember when I was in kindergarten, we all used to sit in like a little circle. 8 kids in my circle got the chickenpox, and it kind of like skipped over me. I don't know how I got, resistant to it, but I never got it. So that was something that was kind of like dumbfounding everybody in my class. So maybe I already had that natural immunity, who knows? But anyway, since then I've been vaccinated. All right, so when you have immunity for, let's say, the flu, you can get sick with that same flu again. So if you think about it, like for instance, let's say I got the flu this year, and that actually happened. Let's say if I pass my flu on to my husband and he tries to pass it back to me, I can't get sick with the same flu that I gave him, because I already have immunity against it. Now, I might get sick with something else, like a sinus infection, but I won't get sick from that same flu. Now, what this means, though, I know some of you are thinking, well, I've had the flu in 5th grade, I had the flu in 7th grade. Why is it I still keep getting sick with the flu? That's because the virus has DNA, and that DNA is constantly changing. It's mutating. Basically, they're outsmarting us in a way. They're adapting to our medicine. So we have to make a new medicine to get rid of them again. And once we do that, we build up our immune system some more. There are 2 types of immunity. We have what's called active immunity and passive immunity. I want to go over passive first. Passive means that basically the mom passes her immune system onto her baby. So this is like for pregnant women. So, and that part of the immune system that she's passing are those antibodies that we talked about before. So she's actually given her antibodies to her baby. And then the baby, when it's first born, it does have a little bit of an immune system. It's not completely unguarded. But what happens is that's enough immune system for it so that it can actually start to build up its own. Also, breastfeeding and the breast milk, that also gives natural antibodies to the baby, so it's like good for the baby too. All right, now for active immunity. Active immunity is when your own body starts to produce antibodies. You don't get the immunity from another person. You can get the antibodies from your response from being sick, like I mentioned before. So once you get sick with the flu, you build up a memory against it, so it's active immunity. You can also get vaccinated, and that will trigger your active immunity too, which is the next thing we're going to learn about. All right, vaccination is, probably you guys know it as getting your shots. So these are also called immunizations. These are shots given to you to boost your immunity and basically trick your body into making antibodies to fight off pathogens. We're given a vaccine in these shots, and a vaccine is a weakened or killed pathogen. So basically, we get a weakened or killed flu or a weakened or killed bacteria, and that will trick our immune system into making antibodies against it. These can be injected. They can be sprayed in your nose. Now, this process that we're going to go over, boys and girls, for some people it scares them because they're like, oh, you're giving me the flu. I don't want the flu. But it actually should not make you sick. So for the first thing we're going to look at is that when you get a vaccine, you're given that weakened flu virus. Once it's in your system, you build these antibodies, which are these little things here, that boosts your immune system. And anytime you come in contact with those same germs, it kills those germs. And then that is honestly, it's like a guard for you. It's like a defense mechanism. Now, let me get back to what I said earlier about how some people are scared of this. Some people, when they're like building their antibodies in this like step right here, they do feel some side effects from it. Like they might get a runny nose, they might get a cough, they might get soreness from the shot. Some people even happen to get the flu. And that's not always what happens. Usually people get the flu because they were just going to get it anyway, or the shot didn't work for them. But there are some side effects to vaccines. But the thing is, if 90% of us get vaccinated for something, we protect those 10% that for whatever reason, maybe they might be allergic to the shot, that can't get that shot. So it's very important for all of us to get the shot so that we can build up what's called a herd immunity. We vaccinate everybody so those few people that can't get the shots, they can be protected. All right, so here's a good example of how vaccination worked. Back in the 50s and before, polio was a disease that would attack the nervous system of people who ever contracted it. To get a vaccine, a scientist, his name was Jonas Salk, he created the vaccine for polio, and what was really cool, they would actually put the vaccine onto a sugar cube and feed it to kids at school, and that way everybody got their shot or their vaccine. Now, here's why you wanted to get your vaccination. If you contracted polio, it would start to attack your nervous system and make it where your lungs couldn't function anymore. So you had to go into these machines called iron lung machines. And basically that was your only way of surviving. It's like being on, a respirator. And these poor people could not breathe without this machine. And that's like the worst case scenario besides like passing from the disease. The second case that could happen is you can go cripple from it because, again, it attacks your nervous system and it can make you paralyzed. This guy right here, you might recognize him. His name is Franklin Roosevelt. He was one of our presidents. And he was actually paralyzed from the waist down, we think from polio, from contracting that when he was a kid. And what's really cool is that the American people, when they voted for him, they didn't know that he was in a wheelchair because this was the time before televisions. So when he spoke on the radio, he was very confident, very president-like, and people liked him for that. So much so, he's the only president to have more than 2 terms in the office. Well, and actually they passed a law after that. Presidents can't do that anymore. Well, people elected him not knowing that he was paralyzed. So it's pretty cool. All right, so let's say you do get sick with something that's a bacteria. Probably have seen this pink medicine before. This is called amoxicillin. It's a type of antibiotic. It also comes in a pill form. Antibiotics are special medicines that kill just bacteria cells. So things are caused by a bacteria cells, like strep throat is caused by bacteria. E. coli poisoning is caused by bacteria. If you have some sinus infections. Well, here's the thing. These antibiotics, they do not work against anything like a virus. So like the flu or the cold. And actually, if you try to take antibiotics when you have those, it's only going to make you where you'll probably get sick with something else. So they are not going to work for the flu or the cold. What doctors usually do now for the flu is prescribe something called Tamiflu. It's antiviral medicine. That means it attacks the virus. The only thing that we can really do now is, besides taking Tamiflu, which you do have to kind of start that early on when you get the flu, is get plenty of rest, drink plenty of fluids, like water, Gatorade, or soup, and then make sure that you take something that's going to relieve your fever so that you don't overheat. Most medicines today that we have actually just treat the symptoms of the cold and nothing we have actually cures the cold or get rid of it. So like if you look right here, it says most medicines help with your symptoms and doesn't cure the infection, especially, if it's a cold or the flu. And if you think about it, like if your parents give you a cough syrup to help with your cough, that's a symptom of your infection, but it's not actually getting rid of the flu itself. So if you want to make history one day, find a cure for the common cold. All right, boys and girls, and so that is the end of my presentation today. Make sure you go back over everything. Make sure you type in your notes online. And again, if you have any questions, just shoot those to me in the comment box. Bye!